The stream live? Alright, I think they got the knife rounds coming up here, I think. Yeah. Alright, so what do you think about this map on train? Whose map do you think this favors?
You give your thoughts first, because I need to join the game, and I don't know if I can press the mouse button while it joins.
Oh, that's a pretty complicated task.
I mean, it doesn't sometimes work.
I think that FX is by far the better train team. I mean, M5 potentially can get a nice CT rolling with a bunch of ops, but on T side they pretty much just roam around. Like, their strats are not nearly as solid as FX's will be. FX also has Neo playing that outside area, really shutting it down. The Cove, Hell, Heaven area.
I actually think I'm surprised that Train is even here. I'm amazed that M5 would leave it in, because first of all, I don't think M5 is very good on Train at all, and secondly, I think even though they don't always win on it, I think FX is like one of the most dangerous teams in the world on Train, because the way they can fuck you up on T side is like unparalleled. I think they're even better than Navi on Train T side. Like they can legitimately go for like 8 or 9 rounds, which no one else can do consistently. That would be like an amazing half for most teams.
Well, I think like Navi never really had that great of a T side on Train. It was always their CT. Like, they were like happy with like 5 rounds, I felt like.
No, but on T side they could always grind and definitely get the win, you know. Whereas FX could legitimately get like 7 rounds of CT and still maybe win that game versus anyone.
So
which is just bananas.
Looks like M5 is gonna do an inner strat, and Fox is gonna try and sneak the bomb alley. Got a couple smokes gonna come down lower. I mean, this should ensure like a easy bomb down for M5, but
they pulled back.
Neo seems to be pretty aware that Fox is...
Zek is under the 3 train inside, but the rest of them have all pulled back, so he's just going to try and guess them what it looks like. And distract them so they can go outside.
It's a really smart move by Neo not leaving alley there. He just stood his ground.
There's still 2 players inside, but they actually got the kill, so it's a trade at the moment. Oh, Cuban and Pasha did a bunch of damage onto those guys on the middle of the 5 train there.
Yeah, I mean, M5 is really just running out of time here.
This is 4.5 for M5 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no time to even plant. This is a bit ridiculous. They don't even seem to be aware that the time's run out either.
I mean...
And they get killed.
I mean, the premise of the strat was like in the right place with trying to get the bomb down on T-side train. Like, sometimes if you're not comfortable getting rounds on T-side, just making sure you get the bomb down for money, being able to buy, is useful, but I don't know, that interfake just did not sell. You know, he just stood there.
Plus, it's like I think the guy inside should have, if say they wanted to go outside like that, the guy inside should have tried to just hide and stay alive. Then once they went outside and people started to flank Rotator into Z-holes, then he could have flanked and like done damage behind or distracted and held a guy in place, whereas instead he attacked too early and got killed. And also outside, I think they made a big mistake by, when the time was already low, they didn't want to rush in, because obviously it's a pistol round, so when you're really good like M5 is, aim-wise, you want to take one-on-ones, and you want to just take normal fights, because it's not like a normal terrorist round where the impetus is you have to get the bomb down and then hold it. Like, you actually on a pistol round want to take like even fights, but because the FX players just hid, then it ran the clock right down.
Yeah, I mean, they got those picks on the people trying to push up early, and they just held their ground. M5 is going to save here, probably trying to get an op in Fox's hand, or Edek I think might op on this side, but... That's pretty good for someone's stream team. Has getting a nice little eco ace. First gun round coming up. M5 actually got some pretty decent spawns here. So I think they might try to do a little bit of a faster strat.
I think on this map, M5's best success is going to come if they go inside. Like, it doesn't have to be like non-stop in terms of how fast they go in, but they can. It has to be at least like fairly quick, coordinated rush.
Yeah, that's a really good pick on Neo and Cove. By,
Cuban has an AWP and he's watching Pop Dog. It looks like. I mean, this is just actually this at the moment is just standard M5 style. Like each player. It's like they just move up the map, one segment at a time, looking at every corner, and then just trying to engage like one-on-one fights with the enemy.
Bosch just made a really bad play. I don't know why he's just running.
Cuban left alone with an AWP in the Z. He may as well actually just hide here. I mean, he'd have to do a lot to win the round. And that's just like a loss of an AWP, which is kind of pointless.
Yeah, I mean,
it always
situations
puzzles me
like
when
that,
a player like that has an AWP.
Yeah. I think it's just like one of these maps where having two ops is really effective, and it's really not that hard to op on CT train. So maybe he just feels like he can.
No, but for a player like Cuban, if you're out of position and you have to rotate, that's when the problem comes in, because you're not going to like do a bananas no-scope on a guy behind a wall. And you're playing versus really good rifle players, so it becomes even harder.
Pasha open up the round on Dosia.
Neo knows that Romshka's on the 5 train. He just dinked him.
So they're falling back to inner. Cuban's gonna...
They have this guy trapped.
I mean, that was a nice inner take. Cuban got a little bit of a lucky timing, but...
Really bad positioning here for M5, because Neo's actually pushing right up to where the bomb spot is.
Yeah, I mean, that early pick by Pasha and Dosia jumping in a ladder was really key for them. I mean, that just made them feel comfortable to leave 2 inner. And 5 got mopped up when they went back there.
Romshka is such a tease as a player, because I've seen so many rounds where suddenly he'll just do some crazy shit, or he'll have like an amazing sequence of kills, and you think like, wow, this guy could be like a star player, and then he never really has like been able to get anywhere near that level in terms of consistency. The rounds just happen every now and then.
Yeah.
And you can't even guarantee it in like a big game. Sometimes it'll just disappear completely.
Yeah, he's kind of underwhelming in a lot of bigger games. He had that one really good tournament, but that's really the best I've ever seen him do.
You mean European finals?
Yeah, the European finals.
I think that was the one he was nuts at anyway.
Yeah, there was one of them, I don't know. Just played out of his mind. A nice position for M5 here. I mean, they actually have, they're all set up in pretty good positions. Like, really, Edic just can't get picked here. He's just jumping around like a maniac, so if he gets picked off, it's going to be really bad. That's a huge pick by Romshka.
Romshka was close on the second, but he gets taken down by Taz.
Dosia's really worried about that guy flanking. He's been watching that for like 40 seconds.
Cuban takes out Edic.
You see, like, that's the problem with what Edic was doing there. Like, he was going for picks, but...
I mean, this is still winnable, but it's just not going to go quick enough at the moment. And he's essentially forced to go to one area. Like, I mean, they're still worried he's going inside, but...
Cuban's actually
as soon as they
from,
spot where he is, it's not going to be a problem.
Cuban's flanking ladder, so I think it's almost...
I mean, as soon as this bomb is planted here... Oh, he has to stop.
Oh.
Actually, I think one of the reasons why... One of the things I've noticed anyway about FX on this map is that Taz actually is really good at playing that inner ramp area.
Yeah.
Like, him and Zeus are 2 of the best players in the world at playing that spot, in my opinion, because they can just they're really good at timing when... I think Face is probably the third guy as well that I'd mention. All those players are really good at timing when to push up the ramp to just own the fuck out of the guys, and also knowing how to get two kills every time they fully rush down there.
Yeah. I mean, positioning on inner is really key, and people like Zeus and Taz do play it pretty good.
Dozy with 11 health here. I think he must have been blind, or he couldn't see through that smoke there.
Yeah, just spamming, I guess. So that's a 7-1 lead for FX. I mean, honestly, this is kind of what I expected. I mean, M5
on this
strats
map
are
especially.
really, yeah. M5 strats really are hit or miss. Like, when they go outside, they just need people to hit their shots, and it happened on that first gun round, as we saw, just a nice clean take, 3 people alive, but other than that, people haven't been...
Plus, Train T-side is not a map which rewards, like, improvised, like, free-for-all style terrorist strats. It, like, really punishes those. Some teams you even see, they actually have a good T-strat, but if one guy's just fucking up one flash, or one guy's just pushing out a second too early, like, the whole round collapses in on itself.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty decent strat that M5 ran versus FX. They just took 2 people rushing outside by themselves, and since he got that pick at alley, it made the inner people think that it was a full outside rush, and they all rotated and just took inner. Which is actually a pretty effective strat. Like, on Train, if you've been hitting outside a lot, and then randomly do an outside fake where people actually go out, like a lot of the fakes that you see, like, some teams try, they don't actually, like, have anyone commit outside. I feel like those are really obvious, and within like 2 seconds you can tell if it's a fake or not. And just sending those 2 people out there, if they even get 1 kill, I feel like that fake sells like 100 times better.
Even though, for Moscow 5, I don't like criticize them too much because they're not the most cerebral players. So they're never gonna be like an MTW or something who could be that level of tactical understanding. But I do think they could incorporate, like, bearing in mind they like to do a lot of slow strategies, they could look at a team like Mouse Sports and at least pick up a few ideas on, like, how to fake and stuff like that, because when you have players as good as theirs are in terms of aim, you could actually be really dangerous in terms of fakes, because the guy you send as a fake on other teams is often the guy where he's like a sacrifice. You don't necessarily mind if he dies and does nothing, but they could send an individual player like a Romshka or someone, and he could, like, fuck up the guys where he's only supposed to be faking and, like, making noise. He could actually kill, like, 2 people. So that would make your attack even more dangerous when you actually go to the other side.
Yeah, I don't know, like, exactly if that was the best idea. They just kind of walked out of team mid and tried to have really long-range battles from across the map. I mean, obviously those are favoring the CTs, because you don't exactly know where they're at.
We're gonna get the bomb down at least. Well, they were gonna.
Yeah, I mean, he almost tried to not go to get that bomb down, but I mean, that's really all he could hope to do in a 1v4.
I do think one thing that is really messed up about Moscow 5, though, is the way they just let anyone who wants to in the team use the AWP whenever they want. Like, there's not even any... It doesn't seem like there's even a hierarchy, and I've never seen anyone buy an AWP and give it to another player. They just seem to, like, oh, I'm an AWP now. And I think a few of the players in this team aren't as good with the AWP as they think they are.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think it should be like one primary AWPer and then one secondary AWPer, and the only time the secondary AWPer should AWP is on CT sides of certain maps, you know, like, allowing one dude to just AWP all the time just makes it a lot more consistent for him. Like, he gets in the groove of AWPing and everyone get used to playing their spots. If one person on a strat on T side or CT just randomly AWPs over the blue, it kind of screws up your setup or your strat because people can't do the normal things they normally do. But I guess if they're used to that, then that's how they play, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
At the moment, Moscow 5's just been hanging around, making themselves known in every position. Now they're